Yes guys, I'm just going to do a little demonstration mapping the first layer of an eye on a face like this. Okay, I've done the first eye on the left and I'm going to add the second eye in using a 5RL. I'm going to start with the eyelashes. I've got my machine speed at 7.3 using a Bishop 1 packer. I'm showing quite a lot of the needle, around 3.5mm I'd say. Now when I'm generating these eyelashes, I'll try and ensure that I'm getting depth in them, so each eyelash is getting thicker towards the bottom. Again, I'm coming in at a 45-degree angle and trying to ensure that I'm not ramming that tray against the skin. And as I'm mapping, I'm kind of like filling in as I go a lot of the time. But there's two methods you can do it. You can line the whole thing and then infill afterwards. So as we're building up the eyelashes, I'm trying to get each eyelash really defined and really neat in the skin, but then get really solid, bold structure for the top of the eyelid to help build that shape out. Now the first layer is literally just me mapping all the blacks, so I'm going to map the eyelashes, mapping the eyeball so it looks like this one, and then generate the eyebrow, the first layer, and then generate these clown girl shapes as well. So as I'm mapping and infilling as I go, it's small tight circles, driving the ink across the skin. Driving the needle across the skin. Again, like I keep saying, there's no need to ram that needle aggressively on the skin. The ink will get delivered as long as you're in the right depth. You've got plenty of ink on the needle, in the needle tray, and you're coming in at the right angle and the skin's stretched, okay? You need to ensure you're stretching the skin in every direction so that the needle's gliding in the skin with minimum resistance. Every time I do one of these faces, a lot of the time the eyes will be slightly different, but I'll be following this similar process. When I'm generating the eyeball, rather than a really solid bold line, I'll just do a few light strokes across it to generate the majority of the shape like you see here. So I'm just kind of hand railing and feathering in that outside bit, because later on when I build out the shading, that's when I'll neaten everything up and finish off the bottom of that eyeball. So with the highlight, I'll just circle round it and then blacken the pupil straight away. Tend to just wiggle my circles to build this in. Be a good one, would have been a good one for you to watch this, Bez.
I will,
no questions. So as I said, what's going to make this eye look really good and really stand out is, like I said, these eyelashes being really sharp and prominent, and then that nice bold upper eyelid. Now if you're doing one of these faces quite big, it might be possible to target these eyelashes with a mag straight away, but that is dependent on the size of the piece. So for the bottom part of the eye, this bit where it connects, it's quite solid. So again, I'll be blackening these shapes and it'll have a little solid boundary. And then as it feathers down to here, these eyelashes are almost floating And what I'll do is I'll just glide them in one by one and start to follow the curved shape of the eye. So I'm just feathering them in and patting as I go. There's no need to be wiping your design every 2 minutes. See this all the time with people when they're starting out and they're giving it a clean every 2 seconds and wiping everything. So next, once I've feathered that in, I'm going to move to the eyebrow. So with the eyebrow, to get this nice effect here, I'm going to stroke in each individual hair on the eyebrow, but I'm going to, rather than line it, I'm going to glide my needle over back and forth. And just a few strokes like that to get a solid but like wispy shape, because you don't want it to look blocky. So you can see the point of origin at the bottom. I'm like gliding it in, but I'm going back over it a few times. And you'll notice the lines that it's leaving, this hair effect, it's quite subtle, it's not dead harsh. But you can develop your stroke out, so coming in at a 45-degree angle and making sure my needle tray is pointing upwards. Plenty of ink in the needle, in the cartridge, and I'm just gliding across. My hand position on the machine as well, I'm not grasping it dead tight. I'm holding it quite gently in my hands, and it makes my hand movement quite smooth. When I'm training a lot of people on the training course, one big thing I notice with all trainees as a common thing that they do at the start, it's squeezing that machine really tightly. There's no need to do it. As soon as you're holding it very, very tight, you'll find that that smooth motion falls apart in your hand. It's hard to glide across the skin nicely. So again, this is layer 1. Even in the eyebrow and across the bridge of the eye, there's going to be all shading when I come to the shading section of this. So this first layer, I'm just mapping out my darkest shapes. Now I've done that, I'm coming to a 15 curved mag, just locking that in. Again, I'm showing loads of the needle because that's my style. I show quite a lot of the needle, and I tend to never brush that tray against the skin. I float the needle over the top of the skin. There's no ramming the needle. So I'm in my solid black ink still, and I'm just gonna, to get tight into that sharp point, I'm just wiggling back and forth using the pendulum method on its side. And as it comes down, I'm going to handrail that section there. And again, this is the first layer, so where I map this out, this will get darker. So for the first layer, I'm going to map that, and then when I come to blending off later on, I'll feather out this ever so slightly more so that the point becomes a nice smooth gradient. So as long as you're regularly applying your Vaselinium or whatever application cream you're using during your tattoo, you'll find that you're not needing to clean it hardly ever. I only give my tattoo cleans in stages where I'm moving on to a different stage and I really want to see how it's looking. But quite often I'll leave my tattoo quite messy. Bits of the skin will have excess ink, and it's because I'm protecting that stencil. So that's as far as I'll go, guys, with the first development of the eyes. Now we'll move on to other sections of the face, and I'm going to come back to this later on, and then I'll start building out the shading. But you can already see the shapes in there. The eyes are already looking like eyes, they just need blending out, okay? And that's built with these solid shapes. Okay, give it a go, guys.